We're excited once again to have the Bulldog Blitz this year. It's 2016. Each and every week, head coach of the Anderson Bulldogs, Eddie Bullock, and I will chat last week's game and then look ahead to this week's game. I'm Gary Harbath-Ngani, joined in by the head coach of the Anderson Bulldogs, Eddie Bullock. First off, Coach, talk about just everything that goes into preparing a team for the start of the year. We haven't talked since the end of last season. Everything that went into spring practice, into summer practice, and then getting off into this year's season.
Well, you kind of get a preview of what you're going to have, in the spring by getting all your guys together and potential players that'll be out for the spring. And you have a short window there, 9 days, and then, of course, you play a spring game. Mm-hmm. And then once you get an idea of where you are, you go through that grueling summer, about 2 months worth of workouts. And then after that, you pretty much have an idea of what you have to do in the fall, to be competitive.
Absolutely. 36-35 against Sylacauga. The game went to overtime. It didn't end the way that you would have liked, but there had to be a lot of things that you saw on the positive side in last week's game.
Well, we played extremely hard, and I was proud of the guys for that. We were kind of down a little bit as far as, what, predictions were as far as us playing and all, and we kind of exceeded those expectations, and I was glad of that, So we had a lot of positives to come out the game, but, we just came up, a couple of plays short. They made a couple of plays more than we did, and we'll get that fixed this week.
Absolutely. Did you see a different, renewed sense of fire during the offseason in this first game? You're able to score 35 points, and we'll talk about the situation that happened last week, but you're able to score 35 points, and it looked like the team had a lot of firepower in the game.
Well, it was great for the offense because last year the defense was pretty strong, and we had a lot of problems with the offense, scoring points and, just, getting everything chemistry together, getting everybody playing well together. And it was great to see them go out and put up 35 points against a great team. And, we just got some things we need to do defensively to kind of help them out, and I think we'll be okay.
Absolutely. You got to start your season off at home at Lott Mosby Memorial. Talk about that aspect of it.
Well, that was kind of strategically planned. In the past we've been on the road, and, we actually had the first 4 games, including Jamboree at home. So we were glad to get them there, kind of get the home crowd behind us and let them see, what we're capable of doing. And, those kids, it's amazing what fans do for kids, out on the football field, just to give them a little energy.
Absolutely. Talk about the dynamics of this year's team going into this season.
Well, a lot of speed, a lot of energy, and of course we got a lot of kids that can play multiple positions, and that's one thing I'm looking forward to. It's easy to fill in, whereas in the past, we were limited, on the depth chart as far as placing players in different positions. But this year, we got multiple people that can do it, and of course we got a lot of younger guys that can step in. They won't be, as good as the guys in front of them, but they're able to get the job done.
Absolutely. First half highlights of Anderson against Sylacauga is coming up next. We'll also preview Asheville a little bit later in the show. It's the Bulldog Blitz, and we're back with more after this. We're back on the Bulldog Blitz. First half highlights of Anderson's game against Sylacauga. Coach, I wanted to hold this shot for the entire aspect of it. Your starting quarterback going into the season, Savion Bethune, was injured in the Jamboree game, and the team honored him. Talk about just this moment right here.
Well, we wanted him to lead us out, to let him know that we were still behind him and that he was still our quarterback. He had an unfortunate injury. He broke his femur, and we just wanted him to feel like he was still part of the team, which he is, and, just, to honor him in that way. Right here you can see we started off, the defense forced a great turnover, and we came back and, ran a slant wheel route, and that's Torian Sizemore, who made a great finish after the catch right there, and got us off to a good start. Pretty excited, and of course we came up here and we were getting out of position just a little bit, and the number 5 for Sylacauga is a great back, and of course the quarterback is pretty smart, and we let them kind of put together a drive, and they got down in the red zone and ended up scoring now right at the end, and we were able to hold them right there. They actually punched it in and tied the score up right here. And one thing we did really, really great all night was got excellent yards on kickoff return. And right here you can see Jeremy McCants, he returned a football about 40, 45 yards on that kickoff. And we came right back here and threw out and up to Rashard Harris, who's a safety, and he also plays receiver. And we scored out. And on the extra point, we actually had a bobble snap, and it's a drill we practice every day, and which is an option pass. And we were able to complete that to Jamari West. And it was a great pass right there. And of course, we up 15-7, and we held them and got a good, strong running right here by Jeremy McCants here. And we got the ball inside the 5-yard line, and we kind of mismanaged the clock a little bit. We had to use a timeout, and of course you see us running right here prior to it, and we actually got Rio right there. He actually scored, and we got it called back on a holding call. And of course we still trying to manage the clock right here, and he got out of bounds on this particular situation right here. And then of course we ran a power back to the left side, and we got a good run right there by L.J. Hurd, and we went back to the same thing again, and we getting good positive yards, and he make a great cutback run right here. Excellent cutback run. We get the ball down to the 5, and we only had one timeout, and we just mishandled the timeout, and we ended up not capitalizing on that drive at that particular point.
15-7 is your score at halftime, but from the way that I saw it, you were able to take away pretty good aspects from the offense, the defense, and in the special teams. Talk about what you saw out of the first half and some of the things you told your guys going into halftime.
Well, we basically dominated, the entire first half. We had 2 opportunities to score, and we could have possibly had a 3-touchdown lead, but, one thing about young guys, you have to learn to finish, and we didn't finish on a couple of drives. We got to the 10 once, and then we got actually to the 3-yard line. The second time it was about 8 seconds before halftime, and we probably should have killed it and then put in a play, for the last play to give ourselves a chance, but we actually didn't get a chance to run a play. We let the time run out. So, I was satisfied with how hard we played, but we could have done a little bit better with managing the clock.
Right. Do you think that these situations are perfectly set up to where if you face a 2-minute situation later, they can draw back on, hey, this is where we need to clean up, this is where we need to tighten up and stuff like that?
Absolutely. And the good thing about it is, of course, it's a non-region game, so, it really doesn't hurt you, so much as far as your standing, in your region. So, we'll go back and we'll work on things that we need to do. Better management of the clock, and of course the coaches, we need to do a better situation of managing the clock as well.
Whenever you have a first game of the season, I could imagine it's difficult to try to scout because you're using a lot of last year's footage and whatnot in order to see the team from this upcoming year and some jamboree stuff as well. How did you go into this first game as far as just scheming against Sylacauga?
Well, it's tough to do that against a team, especially if they change coaches and all. But one thing about Sylacauga, Coach Griffith has been there a while, so he tended to do the same things he's been doing for several years. So it was fairly easy in that aspect. The hardest thing is scouting the personnel, the different guys that they got, because all teams do things different dynamics. So it's sort of tough doing it, but we were able to manage.
Absolutely. Also, one of the things that goes into that first game is making the adjustments off that first half. Everybody's so excited about getting the football season underway. By halftime, people now settled into the game, and the excitement that you had the first part of the game kind of wears off a little bit, and you settle back into a zone. What were some of the things from an adjustment standpoint you talked about at halftime?
Well, they were running a triple option, which is the bread and butter, and they were running it buck sweep. And the thing we had to do, when they run the triple option, they tend to run it wide, you know, and instead of running it in A gap, B gap, most of the teams now tend to run it to the C gap.
Right.
And the adjustment is make sure you slant and get enough people over there. And, you know, we did at times, you know, and then certain times we didn't, and you can clearly tell when they took advantage of it when we didn't have enough people over there.
Absolutely. So 15-7 is your score at halftime, and then at the end of the game was wild and lots of crazy plays, and you will definitely want to come back and see that in the second half highlights here on the Bulldog Blitz. As we go to our break, you'll catch the halftime show, the first one of the season from the Anderson High School Marching Band. We're back with second half highlights here on the Bulldog Blitz. Coach took a 15-7 lead into halftime. Talk about some of the things you saw there in the third quarter.
Well, we came out and, of course, we won the toss and we deferred and we received the football. And first possession, we just didn't have a good possession. We kind of fumbled the ball around and we ended up having to punt the football and turn it over to them on downs. And they ended up putting the drive together and scoring and coming back. And, of course, they went for two-point conversion, and we got outnumbered on a power play, and they ended up scoring. But, you know, one thing I like is the resilience that, you know, my guys had. We came right back, and, you know, of course, you see Mario Dobbins right here completing about a 60 to 80-yard pass to L.J. Hurd, who was pretty fast. And we noticed on film that Sylacauga had a lot of problems with speed, and so we wanted to get the edges or either get receivers in one-on-one situations because we knew that they would have trouble with it. And you know, of course, here again they ran the buck sweep. You see once again, and we kind of got outnumbered. And that back right there is a pretty good back, you know. And we had trouble with him all night. And of course, they came back and scored again. And right here you can see Rio Dobbins made an excellent play. Very athletic. We fumbled the snap, and he sort of made a basketball toss over the top. And, you know, Jeremy McCants again got in the open, and we scored again and came back right here. And we had them on the ropes here pretty much, and we ended up making them punt the football. And we just got a situation right here where we were on a drive again, and we got the ball down inside the 20-yard line right here. And of course, you can see Torian Sizemore. We hit him right in the hands, and he dropped the football, and it ended up being a interception for them at that particular point. And right here on this particular play, it was fourth down, and we had them pinned back, and we sort of had a game break right there, and we got out of position and gave up the edge. And of course, Sylacauga came back, and they managed the clock well, and they ended up punching it in and converting the PAT, and of course sending the game into overtime. And once we got in overtime, we won the toss. We elected to play defense. But right here you can see on the buck sweep, we got out of position again. They got numbers on us, and they scored on the very first play, and we couldn't stop them on the PAT, but we came back, and you know, our guys were very well poised, and we called this play right here as a throwback to the other side, and we were able to convert that on a pass. But on the extra point, we had a situation where my original holder, who was my quarterback, got hurt, and my second holder, who was Brashard Harris, he ended up with a mild concussion. He got hurt, so we had to go to a freshman, and we didn't want to put him in a situation, you know, as far as him handling the football and all. And So we ended up going for 2, and came up just a little bit short.
36-35 into overtime was the final there. And those decisions have to be tough whenever you have a situation like that where you have injured players and you're trying to make decisions on the fly about what it is to do. And really you can't add a new holder in that moment. And you just
Exactly.
you have to go with your gut and go with what you think works in that situation.
Well, most your fans and individuals on the outside don't understand that. My third holder, most teams don't prepare with 3 holders,
Right.
but my third holder was my 9th grade quarterback, and I didn't want to put him in that situation. He's going to be a great player for us in a couple of years. I mean, excellent leader, but I didn't want him to be in a situation where if we did mishandle the snap or anything like that, that he would have that thought in his mind that we lost the game because of him. So I gave him an option, I gave him a play, and we just came up a little bit short. That's all.
But I feel like in this situation, there's so much good you could take away coming out of this. What are some of the highlights, some of the positives that you'll take from this game and as you move forward?
Well, the main thing is how hard we played. I mean, we played extremely hard, and I believe the predictions had us picked to lose 27-6, and we dominated the entire game. We rushed for almost 200 yards, and we threw for 266. And, we dominated Sylacauga in every category except for points on the scoreboard. And, that's a credit to them. They're a little bit more experienced than we are. And we just taken from that. We were close, but we have to learn to finish. And, that's basically our motto for this year. Last year we lost to Russellville in the playoffs because we didn't finish. And, we opened up the first home game, the real game, we had a chance, but we didn't finish, and we just got to learn to finish.
Absolutely. And they'll take that motto into week 2 as they open up region play against Asheville. Coach and I will break down that game coming up next here on the Bulldog Blitz. Final segment here on the Bulldog Blitz. We will talk about next week's game against Asheville as the Bulldogs open up region play against Asheville coming up this week. But first off, Coach, let's go back to the summer or back to January when the AHSAA says, Anderson, you're going back from 5A to 4A, and you're one of those teams that kind of teeters there on the line. So spent the last 2 years in 5A, going back into 4A. So here in 4A Region 5, your first opponent is Asheville. But talk about this region overall. Some of the teams that you've had a history with in the past, and a lot of teams that are here in the East Alabama area.
Well, we was just glad to get back into the area. Number one, it helps out transportation-wise, and you can get more fans to the games. And then secondly, we were the 3rd smallest 5A in our classification the last 2 years, and we just didn't have as many students to choose from as the other schools. So we were glad to get back in this area and excited. And, of course, last time we went 4A, we made a pretty good run. So, we hoping the same thing happens again.
Jacksonville, Asheville, Aniana, Sacs, White Plains, Cherokee County, and Hokes Bluff will be the other 7 teams that are in this area, all vying for the 4 spots that go into the playoffs coming up in Week 11. So you now have Asheville coming up this upcoming weekend. You'll play this game at home, another game at home. Talk about opening up region play and just the importance of each game in the region.
Well, I've had situations where we've won early, and I've had situations where we ended up winning late. But it's always good to have your first home game, first region game at home, to have that home momentum, and then that gives you that extra incentive to fight, and get an early lead in the region. So I'm just excited about being able to play that game at home.
Absolutely. The past few years, and really you could look at any region, in any classification in the state, you can point to a couple of games here and there that would change the seeding, where a situation like last year where you had to go to Russellville, played great in that game, probably should have beat a team that ended up doing really well in the playoffs, but a game here and a game there, you might have been a 3 seed or a 2 seed. So does that factor in at all as far as like playing well because of seeding, or is it more so game to game?
It's more so a game to game. Anytime you want to get a top seed so you can play at home. But in actuality, last year we were 4-6, but we were better than the 4-6 team. We just had, some misfortune throughout the season. And, we actually had the way paved out for us, but again, that motto about finishing came up, and we thought we had it together, but we really didn't. So we at the point now to where we're trying to get an early jump on it so we don't have to come in on the back end to try to save the season.
Absolutely. I know you're focused on Asheville this week, and the focus for the team will be on Asheville, but you're a coach that knows the wider picture. Talk about some of the early impressions of some of the teams that share this region with you.
Well, of course, Cherokee County has a lot of skilled people back, and then, of course, Jacksonville actually surprising us. They got a great coach, and he does some great things with his players, so they'll be tough. And then, the tradition of sacks, and, of course, you got Aniana in the picture, too. So, it's not as easy as, one may think it is. It's
right.
The competition-wise, it's just as tough as it was in 5A, but, it gives us a little better chance because, we have sort of the same numbers to choose from, and, it's kind of being in the area, we know each other.
Absolutely. Hooks Bluffs coach Mike Robertson famously calls this thing the SEC Central. As far as trying, it's so many of the best teams kind of packed in one. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, it's anything can happen. Records, you throw those out the window when it comes to Anniston and Sachs and Jacksonville and Aniana. You throw all of that out the window. It's based on who plays well at that time. And that's what we want to be doing.
2016 is off and underway. Coach, I really appreciate you spending some time with us, and we'll be here each and every week breaking down the games from Friday night, looking ahead to the game as well. Head over to Lot Mosby Memorial Stadium this Friday night as Anniston opens up region play against Asheville. We'll see you next week here on the Bulldog Blitz.